Welcome to this special edition Adobe Apps for Education Live. Today we're looking at the new and wonderful Adobe Slate app, which is available on iOS. And we're really lucky to have with us today Joe Dockery, who is a teacher at Mount Si High School. And Joe was one of the teachers who has been involved in the development of this app, and many of the resources you'll see in our support site have been created by Joe. So, Joe, are you there? Can I hear you? Just head over to...
Can you hear me okay?
Excellent. By the way, Joe has wonderful... I can hear you great. Joe has a lot of wonderful resources on the Adobe Education Exchange. So if ever you want to check him out, I will just pop the link in that pod now. So Joe, I think we can see you. I'm going to mute myself and over to...
Away we go. Well, welcome. I saw a lot of names I recognize there, and I'm excited to be talking to you. Unfortunately, I can't see you, but I'm enjoying this. So today I'm really excited to share Adobe Slate with you. I've been just so excited about working with this application, and now that it's on the App Store, I'm excited to share it with people. This is why I love it so much. The first time I saw it, it seemed magical because I've always loved like my iPad to read magazines. I've got Popular Photography and a lot of magazines, and I wanted to make web pages that were like that or magazines that were like that on my iPad. And this is so quick and easy to make. I've shown it to my kids and they just have no problem instantly grasping and playing around with it. It makes these really cool, engaging pages that you actually get to interact with and click on things and move throughout. You publish it and it looks beautiful on a phone, on an iPad, on a desktop. So you just publish it once and it looks beautiful everywhere. You could be out and about in a coffee shop, or I saw Ronaldo was on his mobile device right now, so he could be wherever he's at and publishing his page. His Slate page could be updated from anywhere. Today I was actually introducing this to my Intro to Digital Media class, and they are going to use it to teach a concept from how to set up your Xbox game to how to cook chocolate chip cookies. And they're going to easily be able to combine text and images to really help tell that story. We were talking about the idea that a photograph tells 1,000 words, but when you combine that photograph with a few words, you can really be an effective communicator. And then last, I love the themes and the way that the themes are, I think, that perfect balance of giving students creative choice without too many bells and whistles. I like to call it the PowerPoint syndrome. The last thing I want to just mention is that I'm going to show you today how to integrate this app and use Dropbox. And I think it's a really powerful combination because today my kids were asking me, well, you know, I'm going to go home and I'm going to be baking these cookies. How do I get the pictures from making these cookies into this really cool app? And most of my kids have mobile phones with a camera on it. So you could just download Dropbox on an iOS, Android, or Windows phone. It's free, and you can take your pictures with that and just upload them and get them easily into Slate. And I'll show you how to do that. You can also use Dropbox as a collaborative project. So I'm going to show you some projects that my kids did last week. We were going to the Pike Place Market here in Seattle, and they were in groups of 2 to 3 students. And so they were all taking pictures, and they wanted to share those pictures at the end with each other. And so we used these shared Dropbox folders to collaborate. And the last thing, if you want to share specific photos yourself, you could share those photos as a teacher. So let's get out of this and into an example. So this fall, my kids and I went down and did a beach cleanup. And so I took these pictures with my iPad at the beach, and we took the public transportation, and from Snoqualmie out to this beach, it took us about 2 hours to get there. And so by the time I was back, I was working on building this cool interactive slate page. So you can see I've got text, I've got a photo grid, and when you click on the photo grid, the pictures come up full screen, these big, beautiful pictures. And you could just cycle through the pictures real quickly and easily. You have a variety of different ways of laying out these pictures, putting captions over the top of them. Here's an example of a quote, and then you can have a hyperlink and a call to action, join Key Club today. So you click on that, and it goes to our actual club page. So I think that's a really cool way of presenting information. And so let's get started with the app. So here is Adobe Slate. The first thing that you're going to notice, and I've already logged in, but the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to ask you to log in with an Adobe ID. Now, it's free to set up your Adobe ID, and once you've got it, you can use it for all the mobile apps. So it's a one-time deal. Now, I actually kind of like being able to log in with my teacher Adobe ID on all my classroom iPads, and this is why. When I go to projects, I can actually scroll down, and even though my kids built these Adobe Slate projects on other iPads, I can actually just scroll up and down and instantly go to a project and view it. So I could grade this project without even having the kids go through the process of grabbing a URL and turning it in somehow. So I'm instantly able to start looking at my kids' projects. As soon as they publish it, I have access to their projects. So I think there's actually a real advantage to logging into the iPad with this Adobe ID. Now you can have your kids create an Adobe ID. They do have to be 13 years old in order to do this. Another big advantage as a teacher, if I go in here and I realize, this project has some problems, I can tap on this and unpublish it. So I have control over what my students are publishing and pulling those back. So another big advantage of logging in as a teacher to my iPads with my Adobe ID. So once you're logged in, you then come to the very first thing is you come to this Explore tab, and you have these beautiful examples. And these are a great way to get your kids started. Just say, okay, hey, check out one of these projects. Take a look at them. Get some ideas. How did they format the text? How did they lay out the photographs? Did they use captions for their photos? So just that's what my first step was. I got them looking at these examples, and I can tell you, my kids got excited. They were like, I want to make something just like that. So that was my first step, was explore. And we took about 5 to 10 minutes to explore these. Actually, I think it was more like 10 minutes to explore them. Okay? Then I had them actually take the photographs, either on their iPhones, their mobile phones. In my photography class, when we were going to Pike Place, we actually took a whole set of DSLR cameras down there, and the next day we brought them back and edited them with Photoshop. So there's a lot of different ways you can get the photos. So these were all taken with DSLR cameras. And so once you've got the photographs, and then the second step, sorry about that, the second step was I wanted them to do some writing, and I find that actually writing on an iPad isn't the easiest if you don't have a keyboard for your iPad. So we actually typed up our text in Google Drive. So we did Google Documents. So the first day of this Pike Place project was doing some research, taking the photos, editing them in Photoshop, and then typing up the text that we wanted to use in our story. And then to start a new Adobe Slate project, you simply click on Create a New Story, and you're presented with your title slide. And they keep things real simple and make it easy. You just tap, add the title. So I am going to call this Demo. And if you don't put any subtext on the subtitle, don't worry about it. It won't show up in the final presentation. So Then you're presented with, it kind of automatically knows, okay, they've got the title, you want to add a photo. So you add a photo, and here are all your options. Find photos, this one on top, allows you to search the internet. So let's say I was doing this on cats. I would just type in cat, and then I'd have all these different options that I can pull up from the internet. Now, I will warn you, if you're in a classroom setting, you do need to test this out beforehand and just make sure that your school filter is letting these images through. So test that one out before you work with your kids. There was a back arrow that let me get back out of that. If your images are on the iPad, you just tap in here, and you have access to all your iPad libraries of photos, the camera roll, if you've edited pictures in some of the other apps, or if you've transferred files, imported them. There's lots of different options. For example, Snapseed is one of my favorite photo editing apps and a great resource for using with Slate. So it's really easy to bring in photos. I think I'm going to do this on Easter. So here's a picture of my mom doing our Easter hunt. That would be kind of fun. So then when you're ready to add your next piece of text or image, you just swipe up and you've got these options. So for example, if I wanted to add some text, I recommend when you're adding text, and this is just a little tip to give to your kids, before you start typing or copying and pasting, select the formatting. So up on top here, you can see I have H2, H1, H2, so these are different sizes. I'll go ahead and type something in here. So here at Easter, here's H1, H2. You can make it a bulleted list, a numbered list, or a quote. Okay? So tip, tap the text formatting first. Okay? And then you can always copy and paste in here. Okay, well, let's just say I've got that in there. I'm going to go ahead and tap. And this time I'm going to add a photo grid. So I'm going to go ahead and swipe down. Here's my dad. Here's some the nieces and nephews, my brother and sister. We're all grabbing the eggs here. I got some artsy shots of the eggs where we laid them out. So there's a nice collection of pictures. So I've got my pictures in here. Let's say I like this picture of my dad. I want it bigger. You've got this little star that turns that picture into what I call a hero. All right, I'm sure that I didn't steal that. That's probably somebody else's idea. But that makes it a hero and just makes it bigger. If you decide, oh, I don't want that to be here, you just tap on the star again and it makes it smaller. So it's really easy to kind of determine what's going to be big and what's going to be smaller. Let's say I want to move this picture. So you've got these arrows. Just lets you cycle through where that picture is going to be located within the photo grid. And when you're done, you just hit the done in the upper right. So it's really easy to add a photo grid, and I think these are really cool, the photo grids. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and add a photograph just so I can show you another thing. Here's a nice picture of an Easter egg. Now, this is what's called an inline photo. And you have all these different options. So here's fill screen, here's window, and window kind of lets you slide through it. You go back in there, here's full width, and that's the entire image. And anytime you're ready to work with it, all you have to do is tap on it, and I can delete it or replace it. So I think I'm actually going to go with fill window. You can type in a caption. Real or plastic. All right, so there's my caption. If you press and hold on your caption, oh, I got to get out of text editing. If you press and hold on your captions, you do have some options for moving these around. So press and hold allows you to drag and drop. There you go. Kind of tricky. All right, there we go. So you can move those captions around. Okay, and then let me show you the last thing here, and that is a hyperlink. So you just type on that. You can add the text that you want for your button and just copy and paste a link. So I don't have one copied, so that's it. Let me do a couple more text elements just so that I can show you what things look like when you format them. So this was what looks like with a quote. All right. Now, once your kids have their text and their photos laid out. We've got the themes. So the themes allow you to format your whole page, the whole look and feel. So I'm going to tap on the magic wand, and this is where it's nice that we're working with kind of a suite of these mobile apps. If you've worked with Adobe Voice, you're familiar with the idea of themes. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start cycling through some of these. So you can see the vintage theme changed the look of my text as well as the look of my image there on my title. Here's what a quote looks like. Here's what a heading 1 looks like. So as I go through these, it's going to change everything. So real easy to work with. You just tap on them and the theme changes. So they can, I think it's that perfect balance of giving kids creative choice without wasting too much time picking a specific font and a color. You just get one choice with these themes. And I imagine that Adobe's just going to continue to come out with more and more themes. So that's kind of my last step when I'm working with my kids. When you're ready to test it out, just hit the play button. And you can swipe up and down. And you get the actual look of what it's going to look like once it's published. And when you're done with the preview, just hit the X in the upper right-hand corner. So you can see it's super simple. You don't really have a lot of work to do. I do want to show you, let's go back to the photos for a second. I'm going to get out of the camera roll. I did want to mention you can take the picture with the iPad right here. You can get images from the Creative Cloud, Lightroom, or Dropbox. So one of the things to talk about with your kids and when they're using Dropbox is the first thing, when you tap on Dropbox the very first time, it's going to ask you to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and, and then when you're done, when a kid's done with using the iPad and you're ready to give it to another student, have them hit the little minus button here next to Dropbox, and that allows you to log off. So I'm going to go ahead and log off of that. So when you're ready to use Dropbox, you tap on it for the first time, and it brings up the Dropbox login screen. And you can log in and add your photos. So it's just bringing up the Dropbox, and I'm going to go ahead and allow it. And it lets me log in, and here are my different Dropbox folders. So some of these could be shared folders. Okay. So that's how you use Dropbox right here inside of Slate. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about within Slate here is publishing it. So that's the universal publish button over here on the right, the little box with an arrow going out of it. And you can make it public or private. My kids have been just using public. You can change the category. Here's kind of a neat thing. If you hit the author button, you can type in your name. In my class, we just use first names. Keeps things safe. But you can also add a little icon, a picture. So let's say, I'll go into my camera roll and see if I have a picture. I'll pretend that's me. So there's a picture of me. We actually, at the beginning of the semester, my kids make themselves a profile picture that is kind of unique. It's not necessarily their face. If it is their face, we kind of do some fun things so you can't tell exactly who it is. So they all have a profile picture. And then you have all these different options for sharing: Facebook, Twitter, email, messaging. All four of those don't really work in my classroom because they're not connected to a specific student's account. We usually use the clipboard icon. And basically, when you hit continue, it's going to upload the pictures and text and make a Adobe Slate page online. It's going to then take that URL or web address, copy it into the clipboard or the temporary memory of the iPad, and then you could do something with it. If you did need your kids to turn it in, for example, I use Edmodo in my class, it's now on the clipboard, and they can just navigate over to the Edmodo app and copy and paste it in. It's also right here. If you just tap on that, it'll bring up the web page, and they can see it live online. Just load that. So now this is, I'm looking at a live web page. And they can also just tap right up here in the address, tap again, and copy it. And they'll have a copy of their Slate project. And they can turn that in a different way. So that's the publishing process. So you can see from start to finish, Slate is super easy to use. One of the things a lot of my kids ask me is, how do I save this? And the answer is, you don't really have to. It just automatically does it. As you're working, it's saving it, it's constantly updating it, and when you hit the home button, you can see all the different projects up here on top. These top four are ones that I made on this iPad, whereas these bottom four are ones that were made on another, or bottom many, are ones that were made on other iPads, but using my Adobe ID. Another one of the cool things that I like is right here you kind of have this interface where you can see the projects, and right here in this column in the middle, right after the name, you see a little eyeball, and that tells you how many views or unique times somebody's come and looked at the project. So this Pike Place project has gotten 11. This top 10 books has 18. So disc golf has 29. So you can tell how many views it's gotten. And then the little thumbs up tells the kids how many people have appreciated their project. So that's kind of neat. And I thought I'd show you a couple of my favorite student projects. So this one, this student wanted to do something for her grandmother's 90th birthday. So this is all about her party that they had for the 90th. And let me tell you, once she published this, she put it on her online portfolio, and family members loved seeing this. So that was kind of a cool example. Another example of that you could be doing with your kids is portfolios. So let's take a look at Emily's portfolio. So they can post their pictures, hyperlinks to YouTube videos, some of their work. They can have links to different things. So she's a graphic designer, so she has just different images that she's designed. She's a photographer, so that's kind of a cool example. Field trips, as you can see, here's a good example of a trip we took down to Portland to take photographs. I teach a photography class this year, and I've really enjoyed teaching that. So it's a great way to create things. And the neat thing about this was we were able to actually work on our Slate projects on our way back on the train. As we were driving back to Seattle, it's about a 3 to 4 hour train ride back, they could actually be building these on their way back. So field trips are a fun thing. And then this week, my kids are teaching a concept. And so here's an example of kids having to teach a concept. Here's a disc golf. Example of, I like this. So here's a good example of what bulleted text looks like when it's been published. So those are just some examples. I'm excited to work with my Spanish teacher. He and I are actually in the process of designing a lesson for his class on how to use this, and the kids are, I think what our idea is, he's just taught the kids Spanish vocabulary about household items. And so the kids are going to take their cell phones home, take pictures of different household items, come back, and we'll use captions and text to explain what these different items are. We're also going to be using Adobe Voice, and we're going to combine these two, both Slate and Adobe Voice. So once you've built this, if you want to log off of your Adobe ID, when you're either in Projects or Explore, you always have this Settings button in the upper left-hand corner, and you can click on the account icon and then sign out, and that allows somebody else to sign in. But like I said, I recommend just using a single sign-in with your teacher account, and that way you can easily get in and grade your kids. You can also turn on the Restore Hints button in the settings here. So let me get out of sharing my iPad and come back to a resource that I'd really like to share. This hyperlink is in the chat window over on the right, or actually I'm not sure where it is. But I've developed this website. It's ipadography.weebly.com. Again, that link is over on the right-hand side. And it's just chock full of great resources, just tons and tons of resources. Lately, I've been teaching workshops at various conferences on storytelling using the Adobe apps. And my favorite three are Adobe Voice, Adobe Slate, and Premiere Clip. And if we come in here to this tab and slide down to Adobe Slate, this web page is all dedicated to Slate. And I've got this nice one-page handout right here. It's called Slate Handout. And it kind of goes over everything that I just talked about, has hyperlinks to different things, but it covers everything from this presentation. So if you're interested and you want to review these things on paper, it's in this PDF handout. I've got my Pike Place Market lesson plan. So here's the assignment that the kids did before the field trip, making their photo plan. Here's the rubric, how I'm grading them on their slideshows. Here's some just information if you're going to go to the Pike Place Market. And then finally, here's my Adobe Slate project on the field trip itself. And I'm going to be using this next year when we go on our field trip. And here are a whole bunch of different examples. I've got 2 or 3 groups that haven't submitted, so hopefully I'll be adding some more here. And then again, I have some more examples of projects that my kids have done in the past. And so if you come up with a cool Adobe Slate project or two and you want to share it with me, I would love to add it to my website. So please send that to me and I will, you can be famous and I'll add it to you. So let's see here. I think that's all the things that I wanted to cover on Slate. Pip, how do I get back out so we can answer some questions?
Yeah. Okay, so we do have a couple of questions. Just keep your screen like that for a second.
Okay.
So Ronaldo wants to know, Ronaldo would like to know if you can get the finished files in a folder.
You cut out there.
When you're creating, after you finish. Ronaldo is wondering if you can get the files in a folder at the end of the slate. So I'm assuming the images, if they go in a folder at all.
Yeah, so like in Adobe Voice, you can now download that to the camera roll. So I think that's what he's talking about. There is the only publishing option on this app is to publish it online onto a web page right now. So that's the only option. Good question, Ronaldo. Good to hear from you.
Fantastic.
What's our next question?
And one person, of course, the next one, I don't think you'll be able to answer this one, but will the apps be available on Android devices? And if anyone can help us answer that, that would be wonderful. But I'm sure that there's some things in the pipeline, but I'm not sure if we have the answer here. So we can't really answer that. So thanks for that question, though, Carol. That's a good one. I hope everyone now has a little bit of an idea of how Adobe Slate could be used in the classroom. I think it is, Joe's given us a really good overview of how we can use it for teaching and learning, to be sharing student work, to be showcasing, to be using as a writing platform. So thank you, Joe, for your very, very awesome resources and your time that you've given us today. Before everyone leaves, if you could please just tick our little polls on the left-hand side, that will help us to continue with the work we're doing. And also please know that we have next week, Lucas Enquist will be leading sessions on InDesign in our Adobe Apps for Education next Thursday. I believe that will be the 8th of Wednesday, the 8th of May, because it's American time. So thank you very much, Joe, for spending time with us, and I'll over to you to finish off for the day, if you like.
Was that me? I'm sorry,
yes,
I couldn't hear that.
Please feel free to jump in. Just
Oh,
if you
okay.
wanted to, if there was anything else you wanted to add before we finish.
Oh, well, I guess yeah, I'm excited to use Slate, and I'd love to have you share with me your ideas of how you're using Slate, and look forward to seeing all the wonderful things that people create.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great evening, morning, or night, or wherever you are. See you all next time. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, thanks. So Pip, do I need to unshare this, or
And
should I
wait.
just close Connect down?
It's just stopped it. It's just stopped. Yeah, yeah. We're all good now. Everybody is in the hold room, and I'll boot them out in a second, so we're all good to go. Thank you so much, Joe. That was
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, great. You're welcome. Thank you. So I can just
Excellent.
close down now?
So yeah, absolutely. I'm going to email you the video once it's uploaded, so you can pop it on your site as well if you like.
Sounds great. Take care.
Take care. Thank you so much. Melissa, you there? No, she's gone. Okay.